You know, they fired a lot of people. They changed a lot of things in house. A lot of assistants got let go. A lot of senior VPs got let go. The management team are mainly Brazilian. They took away blackberries and they took away all the beer. You know, every employee had like a case of beer or whatever a week. They took that away. I mean, they revolutionized the way Anheuser-Busch is, and that kind of got a lot of people mad over there. I'm sure there are articles about that too. It's really interesting.
Probably.
I'll have to look it up and see.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and that's I'd say that well, there's construction, tourism, beef, and agriculture. I mean, just with farming, biodiesel. I don't know if you guys heard about that or not, but biofuel. Brazil is huge in biofuel, and but we do it not with corn. We do it with sugarcane, which is different. United States does it with corn,
Yeah.
the biodiesel, or ethanol. So there's a few, just to name a few. Brazil's growing everywhere. Every single industry is doing really good. Sometimes I think about, okay, I'm here I'm moving to Singapore. So before going to Brazil, I'd like to do something different than go to Brazil. But Brazil's the place to be right now. And if I am to tell anybody to learn a different language, there's a lot of people say, oh, learn Chinese. Well, Chinese is very, very difficult. A lot of people that do business in China right now are making a lot of money, and they don't know Chinese. But the Brazilian people, they're very personable, very, very personable. And if you know just a little bit, or if you know it, have an interest in the Portuguese language, I'd recommend Portuguese. If you guys are thinking about a second language, it's similar enough to Spanish that you could get by. You could get by. As you know, every single Brazilian knows Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Even though Portuguese is the native language.
Are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? I'm very strong about that.
What was your biggest culture shock when you came here?
Oh, here. Okay, I always tell this story, which I think is pretty funny. You go to Brazil, people there are so warm and so inviting that you get to a restaurant, you sit down, they come, give you order beer, you order food, and you chat with your friends, and you actually go to a restaurant just to talk. You eat little appetizers here and there. Not for a minute do you think you're being too much there at the restaurant. They never bring the bill to you unless you ask for the bill. If you ask for the bill, they bring the bill to you. They'll never bring the bill before you ask for it. If they do, then that's really bad. I'm sure they're kicking you out. Probably. It's probably like the bar closed at 1 a.m. and you're still there, it's 3 a.m., something like that. But here in the U.S., no. You go to a restaurant, before you even get to dessert, they're already bringing the bill to you most of the time. If not, they're like, you guys want some dessert? No, okay, so here's the bill.
Exactly.
So I think that kind of that is a huge culture shock for Brazilians when they come to the U.S. I'd say, as a shock, that would be it. But everything else is quite the same. I mean, with globalization now, there are no frontiers ever. So there's a lot of things in Brazil that has in the United States. From the restaurant perspective, we always had McDonald's, Applebee's, Burger King. We got all that. The clothing, we got all that over there too. So all the Hollywood movies, I mean everything. We kind of the sitcoms, we get all that.
Yeah.
So that kind of reduces some of the culture shocks that one would have by coming here.
Has there ever been a time when American has offended you?
Whatever. No, just like any ways that Americans could easily offend somebody from Brazil and not even realize what they were doing.
Like gestures or phrases or anything.
That's a good question. I'd say, I won't say offend as much, but, the face-to-face is so important that even with emails, you can come across very strong, right? So another advice I give is when you're writing emails or you're corresponding with Brazilians, you know, use your language carefully, you know, because it may come off too strong, and I won't say offend, but it may, you know, close. Instead of you trying to open doors, it kind of, you know, closes a little bit in. That's one way. What would be other ways of offending? I don't.
We read somewhere that if, like, say I'm trying to do business with you, if I mention a business deal first, then you'll close the doors. Like that, it's
That's
appropriate for whoever you're wanting to do business to bring it up first.
Yeah, the host to
Yeah.
bring up the business topic first.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, if you come and you come across very friendly, you talk about your stuff, and then like 2 minutes later you talk a little bit. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But you do have to realize that deals are not gonna get done in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you go to Brazil, you have to take your time. You can't go one day and come back the next unless you already have the relationship established. You really have to work it, so you have to stay at least 3 days. You know, there's a lunch and there's a dinner, and maybe there's a weekend at you know, the partner's house, you know, with the family or whatnot. That kind of stuff really does build relationships. It really does open doors and brings a lot of business. And again, it goes back to having a partner there, you know, that open doors for you. Cessna has a authorized sales representative. It's a company there. It's the largest airline in Brazil. It's called TAM, T-A-M. So they know the market very well, and Cessna really capitalizes on that to sell airplanes. But to offend, I don't. Brazilians are very, you know, warm and, you know, playful, and they really don't get stuck too much to these little things, you know, about being offended or anything like that. They kid around a lot, they joke around a lot, and you got to get into it too, into the groove of that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences that we saw was like the personal relationship. Here, if you touch someone or talk to them in a weird way, you could get in a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah, there's that other way. Yeah, you could.
Like
In Brazil, in business, if you don't know the person, you shake your hand. You know, a guy and a girl, you shake hand. A girl and a girl, you shake hand. If it's just business, at least you don't know each other. But the second time, it's expected for a guy and a girl to kind of touch cheeks. You know, that's greeting, is, you know, saying hello. And guys will always shake hands. That kind of stuff. And here in the United States, it may be a little bit too much, right? If you're going to go really close to
yeah. What was some of the other things?
Okay, on the list.
There's a huge manufacturer in Brazil too, you guys should know about, called Embraer. Have you guys ever heard of Embraer? Remember that name? It used to be military only, then it went into commercial. A lot of the airplanes that fly out of Wichita are Embraer airplanes, made in Brazil.
How do you spell that?
Embraer. They are they're manufactured in Sao Paulo, and they're great quality airplanes. Moving into the mid-sized to light jets, going into Cessna's niche market, kind of Hawker Beechcraft market, Bombardier market, and they're very good quality airplanes made out of Brazil. What else? Do you guys want to know about the education system there?
Sure.
Or,
Definitely.
yeah. There's two different types. There's the public, okay, and there's the private, just like here, right? Public is free, private is expensive. Public system, because it's free, allows, you know, kids, elementary, middle school, to go to it free. But the middle class, the higher up, usually has some money to send their kids to private schools. The private schools will prepare you to get into college. So will the public schools. But the private will do better than the public, because There's money, and the money you give it to the professors, and the professors are motivated. Okay? So the kids that go to the private schools are well prepared to go into college. Kids in the public schools who don't have much money are not. So you see a problem there. So the rich will always be rich because they're always going to have the best education. They're always going to go forward. But not so rich will go to public schools and will get a harder time getting into these universities. So it's, to me, one of the big problems in Brazil right now. It's a wonderful economy. It's booming. There's a lot of growth, but at the same time, if you look at the education level, you got to see, the youth that the country is preparing to leave the country, and if they're not favoring, if it can't be favored to the poor, then there's a lot of inequality.
How does religion play into effect? Is it
I'd say it's about 85% or 90%, very, very high up Catholic. They're not all strict Catholics. I mean, they say they're Catholic, but the great majority of the people in Brazil will say they're Catholic. The Pope goes there quite a bit. The Christ, kind of represents Catholicism, I guess, in Brazil in a way. But, that's a big statue over in Rio. It's a beautiful statue. It's actually a great place. It has great scenery up there from the Christ. Beautiful scenery of the city of Rio de Janeiro. It's just amazing.
I've seen that picture a few times.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And right next to it is a sugar loaf. The sugar loaf is also an iconic image of Rio. So you guys in the MBA program or undergrad or? Undergrad. Cool. What classes? What was the professor?
This class is